Hi, my name's Guybrush Threepwood, and I want to be a pirate.
Yikes! Don't sneak up on me like that.
I'm over this way.
Ah, well then, Thriftweed.
Threepwood. Guybrush Threepwood.
I see. So, you want to be a pirate, eh? You look more like a flooring inspector. But if you're serious about pirating, go talk to the pirate leaders. You'll find them in the scum bar.
Gosh, thanks. I'll do that. Bye now. I'm off to seek my fortune.
Good luck!
See, there was a rumor going around that my old nemesis, LeChuck, had somehow discovered the exact location of the secret of Monkey Island. I knew I had to get it before he did, so I went to Melee to get my own expedition started and beat him to the punch. Feels good to be back on Melee Island, the hub of pirating in the Caribbean, where every good expedition begins. I'll see some old pals and get things rolling. Or sailing in this case.
Hey everybody, it's Ron with Ron's Computer Videos. I want to thank everybody for taking a few minutes out of their evening and spending it here with us. I've got a great interview lined up for today, so let's just get right into it. He's a journalist, a food critic, and the voice of Guybrush Threepwood, Dominic Armato. Dominic, how are you today?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing just fine. It's taken a little bit of time to put this all together. I really appreciate you coming and chatting with us.
Oh no, I'm always happy to. It's just it has been a summer. It's been a little nuts this summer.
I completely understand.
Things are finally settling down here. Yeah. Little injury, little COVID, little craziness, but we're all on the mend now. So
that's good. That's good. Yeah. It's we had the COVID stuff in our house a while back, and it's horrible and it sucks, and I'm glad everybody's over it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly, and I emerged with my taste buds intact, which was the one of the things I mean, aside from like serious grievous long-term injury, that's like one thing that always freaks me out. It's like, oh, please don't mess with my taste buds.
Right.
I need those.
I was gonna say that's a career affecting injury.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm not actively working right at the moment, but I've got some plans, and I would like to continue to be able to do that work in the future. So
absolutely.
So being able to taste the food is generally an important part of writing about the food. So
Yeah. Or you just become one of those extreme food people where you could be like the Zimmerman guy, where it's just like you go around the food and it's like, all right, I'm trying the world's stinkiest tofu. And it's like, and then it just doesn't matter.
My life or something. Yeah. I mean, that's a very different thing.
Yeah. Either that, or you got to do like Homer and you like drink the candle or whatever.
For the Guatemalan insanity pepper. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Right.
Yes. Oh, I know all about the Guatemalan insanity pepper. Heck yeah.
All right.
I was a Simpsons. I had my years of the Simpsons. It's been a while. They're still going, aren't they? Jeez, oh man.
They just keep going. I think it's at this point where they're just like, they don't want to lay anybody off. They're just waiting for everybody to finally just retire, and then
it just blows my mind because like I think to myself, like, I mean, I was a hardcore Simpsons fan for well over a decade. I want to say about 15 years, maybe. Sure. And it occurred to me the other day that I've reached the point now where even despite that, there are now more Simpsons episodes that I haven't seen than I have, which is bananas. Because I think I fell out maybe around the time of the movie, somewhere in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And it's like I could go back and watch, and there's more now than there was then.
Yeah,
or getting more than double. You know, understand what I'm saying? Yeah,
it just keeps going.
It's insane.
I think they keep it going because they're like, what else is Yeardley Smith going to do?
True.
I
What
just,
do any of them need to do? I mean,
yeah. I mean, you've
sit
got
around their
Simpsons
houses all
money,
day.
granted, and I've seen her in some other things, but I just remember it was
Yeah.
like she's got like The Legend of Billie Jean, that
Yep.
movie.
That was the
And
first
then
thing I saw her in.
and she's got
Yeah. I
Herman's
love that
Head,
movie.
and then The Simpsons.
Well, she's got some big podcasts now too, I guess.
Yeah, good for her.
I'm not a
wishing,
podcast
I'm
guy,
wishing
but I
her
guess she's
nothing
got
but
a-
success. But
Yeah, I guess she's got a super popular podcast. I think it's some sort of crime or murder mystery podcast, something like that.
imagine.
I think my wife is the podcast person in the family, so I don't know, but yeah, no, sounds like that's fairly big as well.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
you know,
I mean,
so there's life
again,
after The Simpsons.
yeah. I mean, there's
believe.
like concurrent with The Simpsons. It seems it's for
Well,
her.
yeah,
at
that's true.
least.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to get a call back. But anyway, that's fine.
And they're all doing better than King of the Hill. Oh my god, and King of the Hill.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's like at this point, if I were on that cast, I'd just be hiding in a bunker somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible, but geez, oh man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
to come back and then all that. Ugh,
yeah.
gosh. I can't imagine.
Which is I mean, doubly a shame because the new King of the Hill episodes are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed them quite a bit.
I gotta admit, I haven't
just
watched any of the old.
They're good. They're good.
episodes.
I mean, of all the ones that have kind of all the animated shows that have kind of had their comebacks, I think King of the Hill is definitely the strongest of them.
Yeah.
You know, and I say that as somebody who's like just a hardcore Futurama fan. Like Futurama is just my favorite of all time.
That is. I will say, I watch an episode of Futurama every day, just as a matter of course.
An episode a day. We used to. So my wife has this habit. After dinner, she comes and she lays down on the sofa, and I'm sitting on my computer on the sofa, and it's like too tired to actively watch something new, but just want some kind of noise in the background, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And for a period of about 10, maybe 11 years, that was Futurama every night for 3 to 4 hours. So
wow.
I was literally consuming double-digit Futurama episodes every night for about 10 or 12 years. So the degree to which those are all implanted in my head is a little terrifying.
Oh yeah, I believe
it's
it.
Bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
But I'm the same way. I absolutely like encyclopedic kind of knowledge of the Comedy Central era, and
right.
the movies are okay. I would qualify the movies as okay. I do really like that Comedy Central, those couple of seasons they did there. The stuff on Hulu has been really hard to watch because it's a lot of it is callbacks, but everybody just sounds old.
So we're all getting old is the problem.
Yeah, right.
That is actually I have mild fear about that with the whole Monkey Island thing, right? Because like it's still I can still jump right back into it, no problem. But I have this fear that like maybe if someday in the future they decided, well, gosh, you know, maybe it's about time we did an animated feature of Monkey Island. I'm scared that they'll wait so long that I'll be too old to do it.
Well, don't worry. They'll bring you back. They'll Billy West your voice. They'll youth you up, and you'll be all set.
I'd just be happy to let me read for it. Who knows?
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, they let Chris Hardwick do it, so I think they should just let anybody do it at this.
They'll probably
point.
cast Chris Pratt.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's in everything else. Why not? So I
won't
honestly,
even get a call. I'll just show me a trailer one day. It'll be a Monkey Island feature film starring Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
And that'll be the end of me.
Oh gosh, I do love that show though. But speaking of voice acting and stuff like that, I mean that's kind of one of the things that most of the people at home are going to know you for. But how did you?
Yeah, generally,
yeah. How did you get what got you interested in voice acting, and then what got you out the door and recording and booking gigs?
It was kind of an accident because when I was a kid. Like, I mean, I was kind of interested in acting, and my parents were kind enough to indulge that. So I did like a little community theater thing, and my father was a big opera buff, and I was also a singer. So they encouraged me to try out for the Lyric Opera Chicago, the children's choir, and I got into that. So I did that for 3 or 4 years, and I was a little kid. But I I was a little kid, and I wanted to do TV and movies, So they, we did the thing, we did the rounds in Chicago, and we found me an agent, and I got an agent, and I was going out for A ton of on-camera commercial auditions, with none of which I ever booked. I hardly did anything. I did a couple of things, but not very much. But the agency at that time, it was primarily a television and modeling agency. But they did have their voiceover department was one woman, Sharon Wotrich, who basically had a little office in the back of the the whole thing, and she ran their little voice division. And I just met her around one day, and we were talking. My mom's there, and we're talking, and I was maybe 7 years old, I want to say. And she said, "Have you ever thought about doing any voiceover?" And I was like, "No." And she said, "Would you like to?" It's like, "Okay, I'll try it." So she sent me out a week or two later, sent me out on an audition, and I booked the first one they sent me on. It was a commercial for Cherry Switzer, which was kind of a Twizzlers-esque, cherry licorice type thing. I think about regional candy. But yeah, no, I got that, and it just kind of went from there.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so I mean, I got the first one, so they kept sending me out, and I did from the time I was a kid through my high school years and a little bit into college. I just worked commercial like crazy out of Chicago, because all the advertising agencies and everything. But there wasn't much character work there. I mean, it was pretty much, if you wanted to do character work, you pretty much had to go to LA. So that's what I did. I did a couple years of college, and I was like, well, this is dumb. I know what I want to do. And not that it was dumb, but it's like, I know what I want to do, and this is not getting me any closer to it. So let's just go. So so after a couple years of college, I turned 18, and was like, all right, well, I'll pack up the car and I'll drive out to LA. And I did that, and went out to LA to do character voiceover. And that was that. Yeah, my agent in Chicago hooked me up with some friends of theirs who had an agency out in LA, and I just hit the ground running there. Wonderful. And got off to a pretty good start, actually. First year I was there was when I landed Guybrush. So it was I got off to a quick start.
Excellent. That's I know a lot of people kind of like, a lot's changed in that field. Where just
yes.
Like how you could everything is just sort of remote and backstage. And it's just we want 300 samples of something, and can you read it a little bit different? And so it's you're very lucky you kind of came in that time, because it seems like that was an amazing time to be kind of like either entering or active in the industry.
It was. So it's interesting because I was out in LA for 6 years. I was there 95 through 2001, and I was there I was there for the transition. I was working in Los Angeles during that time period when voiceover went from being sort of that quiet thing that nobody really thought about, and that there was sort of like a relatively small in crowd that did 90% of the work, to being the thing that everybody wanted to do. Like when I moved out there in 95 and people would ask what I was doing, I'd say, "Oh, I do voiceover." And they'd be like, "Well, what is that? How does that work?" I mean, even in LA, among actors and stuff, no one ever really thought about it. And by the time I left in 2001, they'd ask me the same question, "What do you do?" I'd say, "Oh, I do voiceover." I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm putting together my demo next week. My agent's gonna start sending me out." So it was like that was exactly the years that I was there was when The Secret got out. So it definitely changed the texture of the industry a lot. And then I was out myself not too long thereafter. And it's in some ways it's frustrating, because like if it had always been the live anywhere, do everything remote that it is now, I never would have been out. But just due to life circumstance, it just wasn't. I had to move, and it wasn't working out for me. So yeah, just it changes. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's
and it's funny now, because people ask me now, like people ask me, like, how do I get into voiceover? I'm like, you tell me, man. I don't know how this works anymore.
It's changed
25, 30 years ago. Yeah, exactly.
It's changed a lot, and it's
changed a lot. Yeah,
I absolutely, if I book something, it is generally and it's somebody or it's somebody that you've worked with in the past that is just nice enough to throw you a bone or something. My whole thing, I'm generally an under 5. I'm the guy that gets called in to be like I stand behind Kevin Sorbo and just sometimes and just kind of go, all right, excellent. But no, but you're right. The things that change and the words out, it's like, to sort of, to paraphrase John DiMaggio, you can work and be lazy at the same time.
Yeah. It's a good way. It's a good way to make a living. Yeah. If you can, I kind of wish I'd never fallen out of it, but it worked out okay for us. So
yeah. But you've also done some television and booked a lot
A little
of well, I mean, more than a lot of people that have like that's been their dream for sure.
Well, I mean,
you've had some
in terms
reoccurring
of-
characters and things. So
Well, I got a couple of things. I got a couple. In terms of on camera, I had like a couple of little guest things, just a scene or two. And I never really, I went at the on camera stuff. I always kind of went at a little half-heartedly. I wanted to do it, but on the other hand, that was always, and I think particularly in LA at the time, it was a very different crowd. Like the on camera crowd was the LA crowd. And all the beautiful people and everybody is awesome and everything is fabulous and everything you do is amazing and that very surface super nice, you're the best, behind the scenes totally cutthroat, nasty. It was very much that scene, and that was just not my jam. Whereas the voiceover was just these weirdos who wanted to do fun stuff and were very very cool people and very chill, and that was much more my speed, so I always kind of gravitated towards that.
I can appreciate that, because it's standing in front of like a crew of like 70 people, and it's like hit your mark every time, because every second we're out here is costing somebody money. It's studio time, and the guy sitting at the board and the director are just like, do another one, but do it like it's Geechee Guy.
Yeah,
it's just whatever,
exactly.
So you can just have fun.
It's a little more loose, a little more free. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's always been more my jam.
Yeah, I can see that. You talked about, it's like you got out to LA after telling everybody that you were the top guy at Second City in Chicago. I'm joking. Improv Olympic, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But you got out to LA and you booked Guybrush Threepwood
within a year. That came up, and that was that. I mean, it's one of those stories where I tell the story, I'm like, no one believes this story, but it is 1,000% true. I was a huge fan of the first two games. I loved them. And I was one of the few people who first played my way into Monkey Island was through the Sega CD system.
Oh wow!
With load times and all. So I played Secret of Monkey Island on Sega CD, and then later when I got my PC, I played LeChuck's Revenge, and I was and I had the same reaction to the weird cliffhanger ending as everybody else did, and then it was multiple years later at that point, and I was on the phone with a friend back home. And we're just talking about stuff, and he says, "Well, like, what would your dream role be for voiceover? What's your dream role?" I said, "Okay, well," I said, "Well, it depends. Are we talking about film? Are we talking about TV? Or are we talking about interactive? Right? So if we're talking film, then to do a Disney film. This is coming out in the middle, maybe towards the tail end, Disney's golden era, that whole thing, and it's like, well, that's one of the things that I can do. I was a singer too, so I was like, I want to do a Disney film, right? If we're talking television, I want to do a guest spot on The Simpsons, right? That would be like the dream job there, to get a guest spot on The Simpsons. And I said, if we're talking interactive, I said, I think it'd be the coolest thing in the world to be the voice of Guybrush Threepwood for Monkey Island 3. I was like, but that's never going to happen. It's been years. Cliffhanger ending. Ron left LucasArts, and it's just, that's never going to happen. And then literally maybe 2 weeks later, something like that, I walked into my agent's office, like I did 2-3 days a week to audition, and picked up my packet off the front counter and opened it up and saw, Monkey Island. It's like, ha ha ha! This is it. And it was like that moment first of like just the total shock of, A, I can't believe it's coming back. B, I can't believe I'm reading for it. I just identified this as my dream job. And there was sort of like that quick little euphoria of maybe like 2 or 3 seconds, and then total panic. Because it was like, I have maybe 10 minutes before they call me in to read for this thing. And it's like, and I have to get this. I have to get this. I can't not get this. Yeah. This is my role. This is my guy. So I spent my 10 minutes walking around, like just frantically pacing around the agent's office, trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do with the character. I knew the character, but I'm trying to think of like the voice, and I'm playing with stuff, and I'm muttering stuff under my breath, like playing with voices. And I just finally, after, it's like, oh yeah, I'm up next. I got maybe 2 minutes here if I'm lucky. And it's like, well, maybe I should just. And I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna play it voice wise, at least. I mean, character wise is a different thing, but in terms of like the quality of the voice and all that, I'm just gonna play it straight. I'm just gonna play it straight because you know what? I've been playing these games for years, and whenever I played them in my head, same as anybody else. I not anybody else, but you know, it's like I kind of inserted my own voice into that, and it worked for me. So why not for anybody else? You know. So I just kind of took the aspects of my own personality that matched up and kind of cranked those up to 11, and just kept in mind I'm keep the character Guybrush, but vocally I kept it pretty natural for me, pretty much. So
yeah, I was gonna say I think those are some of the best voices that people do. Is that that it's something that's rooted at least in your own natural speaking voice, so you don't end up with something that becomes really, really difficult to do for like a 6-hour recording session or something like that. You can
not only
stick and nail it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you do so many hours. I mean, lead character in an adventure, in a graphic adventure. I mean, it's so much. It's the scripts are like this thick, Yeah. But even more important than that, and this is an interesting point. It's something that I had not thought about at the time. But at the time, the voice director, I don't remember how it came up, but we were just talking about this, and the voice director on Curse, Daro Farrell, he mentioned to me, he was like, he said part of it too. He said is that when you're like it's you do those crazy weird things for all the other ancillary characters. He's like, but for the main character, for your avatar, whatever, he's like, you don't want to do something that's too out there. He said, because you have to listen to that person a lot, and if it's something that's really nutty and over the top and out there, it gets old really fast. So he's like, so you really need to keep that main character not too crazy. It's got to be pretty straightforward. Otherwise it gets grating very quickly. Yes. So I mean, which at that time I was like, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, but but it makes sense.
Yeah.
So
sort of like how Invader Zim works as like an 11-minute cartoon.
Right.
But if that was the voice on like CTA or something like that, I think there would be a lot more people jumping on the tracks.
Yeah. Exactly. It would just after a while it would just break you.
Yeah.
Some characters are wonderful in smaller snippets.
Yeah.
But even so, but also I think the other thing too, though, about that is that I think it highlights, and this is one of those things that I think more of the public understands now than they did 30 years ago. But I think something that certainly back then nobody got outside of voiceover, and even most people I think still don't understand this now, is that it's not about the voice. It's not about the voice. I mean, 80-90% of it it's the character, it's the acting. It's not, people always say, oh, you can do funny sounding voices, and you get those people who put together like, oh, here's all my samples, and it's all, just these little snippets of crazy sounding voices. It's like, I mean, that's great that you can do that with your vocal cords. That is a talent. That is a good thing. It's like, but that's meaningless if you can't.
It's not acting.
It's not acting. It's not exactly. And you're better off, just having your natural voice and being able to play different characters than being able to do, 50 different crazy sounding voices and, not be able to act. You'll never work like that. Yeah. And I think I think that's something that I think people are more aware of nowadays. But it's still, that's the first thing that's always, whenever anybody tells me they want to get into voiceover, it's like, that's number one. Never forget that it's not about doing a crazy voice, oh, your voice sounds great, you should do voiceover. It's like, that's not what it does.
Everybody's uncle. That's everybody's uncle.
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
Like Uncle Funny voice,
Yeah, exactly.
But being able to like match that up with being able to like deliver like a believable performance or something. Because there's a lot of people that I know that are kind of not that I'm anyone to offer advice, but they will ask me questions and I'll be like, you have to feel whatever this thing is that's happening. It can't just be, because anybody can just look at this piece of paper and read the words on it, but that doesn't accomplish anything.
And not just feel that, but the thing that I think that's so important too, that I think a lot of people don't. I mean, you have to be in the space. You got to visualize the space. What's like where the people you're speaking to, where are they located around you? And what's the ambient sound like? All this stuff affects how you do your performance. I saw, it's funny timing wise, it was just last week. my wife had pulled up she saw some random video on her phone, and they were showing how for Fantastic Mr. Fox, the Wes Anderson movie, which I will unapologetically say is my very favorite Wes Anderson movie.
I do love it.
Bar
It
none.
took me a long time to figure out that it means must love dogs. Or I love dogs. Sorry. It's I love dogs. I love dogs. It took me way longer than it should have. Sorry.
No problem. But anyway, so for Fantastic Mr. Fox, she pulled up a video and it was all of them, and they weren't sitting in the studio. They put them in the place. They went to an actual location and they just sat around and, you know, whatever clothing they were wearing, and they mic'd them up like they would for performing on film. And you know, I'm assuming they must have still done tons of ADR and whatever, but my first thought was that's smart. That's brilliant. You know, I mean, it puts them in the space, and they don't, I guess, particularly maybe if you're working with, you know, actors who are used to being film actors and not accustomed to doing voiceover, then that to me makes even more sense. You know, put them in a, you know, don't make them develop a talent that they're not used to. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of film actors who cross over to voiceover very well, and there are many that don't, you know, and that's one of those things, you know, it's like anything else. It's a talent and a skill, and you have to develop it. And, you know, but if you can actually put them in the space and do it, and you got the budget to do that, why not? You know?
Yeah. I think about who had to be the person that was going to go to Bill Murray and say, Bill, we need you to stand inside this hot box for like 10 hours to record all your dialogue. And he was just going to walk off the movie. So they were like, oh no, it's just so much simpler to buy some nice comfy couches and sit everybody across from one another. And that's good too, because you can read off other people's performances and find things that, I mean, that didn't maybe exist on the page. And I don't think that a lot of people, well, the media or the literacy on this is way higher than what it used to be, as you pointed out. But but I think that that people see some of that stuff and they're like, oh, this is just for, you know, promotional stuff. No, that's like the best way to do it. It's just to sit around and read and, you know, and feel other people's performances.
Yeah. I feel like we're past the point now where I need to explain to people that no, we're generally not all in a room together. You know, like it's certainly not for interactive. I mean, if you're doing like a television show, I mean, yeah, the principals, they'll get them in a room together to record an episode, you know, but for something like this, it's like, no, I didn't even meet half the people I worked with, you know? So, and when I did, it was usually, you know, they're leaving as I'm walking in. So it's not like, you know, it's not like we're all, it's not like, you know, our cast of 50 is just hanging around in the studio, you know, chilling and having coffee and stepping into the booth when it's our scene, you know, so. But I feel like again, like the literacy isn't. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that's how I always had to explain to people. It's like, you have any idea how, you know, how expensive that would be? I mean, as it is, it's already a tremendous expense. But like you say, I think the literacy, the public literacy has increased tremendously, and I think people, for the most part, understand that at this point. So, but that's in stark contrast to, I mean, you know, back in the day, you know, I mean, I had to explain that to everybody. I mean, nobody got that, and their minds were blown when you mean you weren't there working with them. It's like, no, I wasn't. It's like I didn't even read these lines in sequence. It's like it's branching dialogue, you know. It's like all just these random lines. I keep telling people, it's like whenever you hear a line in a video game where like the read's a little weird, like they emphasize the wrong thing or something like that, it's like what happened was they got to that line in the script and they went, oh shit, what is this? Where does this fit in? And they couldn't figure it out. And they were like, all right, well, I think it goes like this, you know. And they didn't even have the context. They're just reading a line in space and hoping it fits. And we would always, when we got to one of those lines where it's like, oh crap, how does this fit in? It would be like, okay, we'll try to imagine all the ways this could fit into a conversation and read it like 4 or 5 different ways. And then hopefully one of them is going to be the one that we need. We don't have to come back for pickups.
Yeah. Just change a little bit of inflection on this and we'll just leave it to the director and they'll figure it out.
Yeah. There was one in Sam and Max. It's like Sam says something like, you know, are you this, buddy? Or do you think this is something, buddy? And Max says like, you know, I didn't even know where I am, Max. And he should have said, I don't even know where I am, Max. You know, so it's like just that little, and that's a perfect example. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean it's stuff that's recorded like days apart, sometimes weeks apart on different sides of the country, and yeah, they're just doing their best.
It's a miracle they come together as well as they do.
I know it really
honestly.
is. As somebody who's sat kind of in that AD chair for like radio plays and things like that, where you have people come in and they record things, and it's like, and now this sits in a can for 6 months. While you're waiting on your first pick to come up or something, or you're having to like go back and oh, sorry, we're scuttling this whole thing. Maybe we'll pick up later or something. I have a friend who did a movie. It's like with Coolio.
Okay.
It's like Coolio's last thing, and like like his last movie, and so it was just so he was just sort of like, I don't know what'll ever happen with that, because there's a lot of it that's undone, so they'll have to can you get like a fake Shemp for Coolio to come in and just kind of like, there's a guy with like the weird hair that just kind of runs out off camera real fast.
Coolio's double.
Yeah, I guess so.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh gosh. But you've done so much stuff in this. I think it's really interesting because as somebody who's kind of like very much on the periphery of a lot of that the LA thing, and how it used to be that everybody had to show up. You had to, I mean, you at least had to go there. Because I remember that's why they fired the voice actress that did Helen Lovejoy, because she was like, I'm the one that lives in like Colorado and everybody else lives in LA, so I'm incurring all these costs and stuff of going back and forth, and they were just like, oh, it's just simpler to kill you.
Exactly.
But then they brought her back a bunch of times, and I think that they kind of they brought her back as somebody that does that character voice, like in flashbacks and things like that.
Okay.
So I think it was one of those things, because The Simpsons was still kind of newish at that time when they killed her off, and so it's like, I don't know. Do we really want to create a situation where now everybody can live everywhere?
You get knocked off the edge of the stadium with the T-shirt gun, as I
Oh
recall.
no, it's Maud Flanders.
Yeah, Maud Flanders. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Yeah, exactly. I remember that well. That was when I was peak Simpsons fandom, when back when we figured they had a few more seasons left, and that'd probably be
it's like, we got to enjoy it. We got to treasure each one of these episodes.
They're going to outlive us all. They're going to outlive
Armin
all
Tanzarian.
of us. We're all going to be dead and gone, and they're still going to be making Simpsons episodes.
Yeah, it'll be like James Earl Jones, where like he basically just, I mean, there's so much voice work he's done over the years. Like, I mean, he literally he did like the King James Bible, not named for him, but he did, and like, so it was like there's a lot of stuff to call on that you could just do whatever, and then all the work he's done with Lucasfilm and all of that. So but the estate was, or one of his last things was kind of signing off on this the estate, where it's like, you can use the voice to do.
Yeah, sure, go for it. Why not?
This is an evergreen kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So good for him, like locking that down.
Serious. I get it. I think it's great. We should all work that much. Jeez, oh man.
So it'll be working even more now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking, so it's like we start out where it's like, you've got to be in LA.
Yep.
You've got to be there, because that's where it's happening. That's where the representation is at.
Even Chicago wasn't good enough.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's not. There is no Hollywood East. Nobody's making shows in Atlanta at that time.
Yeah.
You could be in New York, but if you're in New York, you're doing like radio, or you're on Broadway.
Yeah.
So
and even like 2001, when I moved back to Chicago, I remember thinking to myself, well, I'm gonna move back to Chicago, but I still know some people, and maybe they'll call me occasionally. It's like, no. It's like the second you leave California, it's like, you're dead to them. Yeah. Not in like a mean intentional way, but just sort of like they just it's like they just forget you exist. You cross the lines and you phase off into this other world, and they're like, oh yeah, who is that guy who like starred in our last 3 games? I can't remember. Was it Donovan? I don't know. He doesn't live here anymore. It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Derek.
So Derek something. Yeah. Derek Armento. I can't look. You search that. I'm not finding anything. Well, whatever.
Dario Argento. Give him a call.
Yeah,
see if he'll come in and do the voice.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. Hire somebody else. But no. But that really was the mindset. That really was the mindset. And I understand. I mean, I understand. But although, to be fair, I understand it really stayed that way. Stayed that way until the pandemic, and everyone says like that just changed absolutely everything, because everybody started working from home and nobody wanted to go back. So
yeah.
so
And
now I could do it again.
Yeah, and I think that people
I might do it again.
in a
I might do
very
it again.
maybe,
I might,
but
do
it's
it again. We'll see.
I hope you do it again.
We'll see.
I would love to. We'll
see if
talk
anybody
about-
hires me. I don't know. I'm a little scared now. The problem is that now it's been so long, and now like there's so much Monkey Island history. I'm like, would anyone hear me as anybody other than Guybrush at this point? I don't know. I'm a little afraid of that. But
well,
we'll see.
you've done a ton of other stuff, so I just
I
kind of
have, but you know,
So I mean, this is the thing that means a lot to me, because I remember and I played those games and stuff like that. In the past. And then the special editions came out, which really cemented that in a lot of people's minds.
Very much so.
Yeah, because I mean the sequel games after 2, they're okay. They're their own thing, you know.
Yeah.
So and that's not a negative thing. That is just
no, exactly.
They're just kind of their own thing. So,
but it is funny every once in a while, like some friend will pull up some old game. They'll be like, "Hey, I was playing War of the Ring the other day. Is that you? Were you Frodo?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did Frodo for War of the Ring." But I never actually played it. I did the Nazgûl too. That was cool. The Nazgûl was fun. They had like some crazy voice process on that. And they're like, "Yeah, we'll add the process afterwards. It'll sound great." I said, "Hey, can you do that process real time?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Can you do the process real time and put it through the cans?" He was like, "Yeah, give me a minute." And I did that, and then it was like the greatest thing in the world, because I'm like, you know, the power of the eye, and then in my head, Kansas coming back. He's like, the power of the eye, and it's like the most fun thing in the world, like this instantaneous feel, like, oh, this is great. I can totally do this now. That was a.
Plus, it's good. It like help inform your performance and stuff too.
Totally.
I want to hear what the final thing's going to kind of sound like a little bit. So
yeah, exactly.
I get it.
No, because then you could play with like what breath would do with the effects and everything. It was very, very cool.
Absolutely.
Sorry, a little tangent there, but
I love that stuff, because I love voice acting. I think it's amazing. When I get to do it, I throw everything I can into it.
Right.
And I love these old games, and I love stories about how terrible Hollywood is at times. So these are great. These are great things. I'm not a bash on Hollywood. I mean, I spent 6 years in LA, and I mean, it was great. I had a great time, and I loved it, and I did it at the right time in my life, and I moved on when I needed to, and I'm, but I mean, like anything else, the bad things you hear are absolutely true, and it's the same as same as anywhere. But I found my niche, and my niche was the voiceover stuff. Yeah. It felt less weird to me than the whole on camera scene. Yeah.
So
there's a lot less craft though with the voiceover stuff, because they want you to bring your own snacks. I like I like showing up. I like showing up where I like sit under an umbrella for like 7 hours and just sit there and eat.
Yeah.
And then occasionally get up, and they'll be like, "All right, okay, go ahead, like team B out, team A in," and you go up there and you're just like, "I'm so sorry, cut. All right, 7 more hours."
It's funny actually, because so you tell random stories. There was this. I remember what cemented in my head. That's like, man, I don't like how this works. I did, like I said, I didn't do a lot of on camera, but I did a little. And one that I did was there was a Joe Dante, I think it was an HBO movie that Joe Dante did called The Second Civil War in the 90s. And I got a small role for that. It was like one of those 3 to 5 line roles. Yeah. But it was one of those things where, but even though it's just 3 lines, it's like, oh, well, you're an actor now, so you get a trailer and a whole thing. And I did. And I had a trailer, and it's like, okay, this is kind of cool, Yeah. But still, it's like you got the extras over here who are all, they had, taped off and on the floor extras, and they all had to stay in like their box that was taped off on the floor. And I, meanwhile, had like literally 3 lines, and I had a trailer and a whole thing. And it's like, all right, this is a little weird, And then beyond that, when it gets to be lunchtime, and they're like, okay, we're gonna take however long for lunch, and everyone head over, we'll be back in however long, and I'm gonna go get some lunch, and I get in line, and I get my tray, and one PA comes over to me, and he's not nasty, but he's a little huffy. He's like, we're really trying to get the crew through here first because they need to get back quickly. And I was like, oh God, I'm so sorry. I wasn't trying to, whatever. And then this other PA comes rushing over. She says, no. He's an actor. And the guy goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought you were an extra. I'm so, no, please here. And he's like handing me a tray and trying to get me a drink. I'm like, no, it's cool. I can go wait for the crew. I don't care. I didn't know, and it was like, but it was the guy, like, he just blanched, like, oh my God, this is it. I'm going to get fired now. It's just the most bizarre thing, and it's like the difference between me and you is that I have like 2 lines, like, really. And this is, I don't know. It's very strange to me.
Well, they don't know that. It's a lot of wanting people, and they'll be like, listen, I don't want to get fired because I told somebody that they couldn't do something. The people that I know are extras. It's whatever. You can tap heartily to your heart's content over there. I'm gonna be
exactly.
I'll be over here like working with the people because I want to be one of the people one day. But, no, I understand. I went. I was on set for a Netflix show one time. I was not working. I just happened to be there as a guest, and it was craft, and they called like lunch on the half, and I ran over there because the director was the crew, and then the director, and then like actors, and I actually walked up to the director of the production, who it was Rob Schraub. If you know him from like, kind of Channel 101 and LA, kind of Dan Harmon adjacent people and all that. I walked up to him and I said, hey, Rob, thanks. And he goes, I don't know what it's for, but you're welcome. And then he just got his food, went on about his business. But yes, they want to get those people through because I'm sure he had a big day and was just kind of doing whatever. So, but no, it's funny. Like, set life is really strange, and I can understand the wanting to stay in the booth because you get to totally skip out on all of the just weird chills, interactions,
no drama,
and people,
no weirdness, no drama, just naturally goofy people who want to do something fun. So that was always more my speed.
Yeah, it's part of your time at LucasArts, though. I mean, of course, and we'll touch on more Monkey Island stuff here in just a minute.
Sure.
But you did a lot of Star Wars titles.
I did, and that was mostly just because
around the prequel era.
Yeah, well, because I mean that's when we were doing the Monkey Island stuff, and so it was just and actually it's funny the way that got started the very first time was I don't remember which one we were working on. It was either Curse or Escape. I don't remember. And Daro, Farrell, the director, he said, "Hey," he says, "I'm working on a Star Wars game right now too." He's like, "You want to do some Star Wars?" I was like, "Yeah, just Star Wars voices." He's like, "Okay." He says, "Actually, so I really need a bunch of Cantina aliens." He's like, "You want to do Cantina aliens?" I'm like, "Yeah, it sounds like fun."
Yeah.
He says, "Okay." He says, he's like, the sound guys gave me this reference tape. He said, so of like a bunch of Cantina aliens. He's like, "So why don't you take that home tonight and listen to it tonight? And then I'll call your agent and come in tomorrow. We'll get the booking set up. And when you come in tomorrow to do this, we'll take a little time and we'll, whatever of those you think you can do, let's do some Cantina aliens." I'm like, "All right, that's cool." So I took it home and I listened to it, and I came back the next day and he's like, "All right, so you think you can do most of these?" And I was like, "Dar, have you listened to this tape?" He's like, "No, I haven't listened to it." Why? I'm like, "I'm pretty sure a good 90% of these sounds weren't made by animals, much less human animals. They're not reproducible with human vocal cords." I'm like, "No, not even the Police Academy guy is doing 90% of this stuff." I'm like, but. So instead, I spent some time last night and just kind of worked on some fun, cool alien sounds. How about we do that? So, all right, that sounds cool. So we did that, and that was a lot of fun. And then it was always just, whenever we were doing Monkey Island stuff or whatever, he happened to have some Star Wars games going too. And it's like, oh, well, I need a couple of TIE fighter pilots and some stormtroopers and some protocol droids and whatever. And, just lay down a few lines, so that was sort of the backdoor thing. And I don't remember, I think I might've actually read for the only one where I had like significant parts, I guess, was Racer, the episode 1 Racer. Cause I got two of the racers, Ben Quadinaros and Clegg Holdfast. And I think I don't remember. I may or may not have actually read for those, auditioned for those since they were more substantial parts. I don't remember, but that was still more along the same lines, sort of the crazy alien stuff. So that was always fun. And I wasn't going to be recognizable as Guybrush in those voices. So that helps.
Oh no, yeah. It's you get to really stretch and because there's a lot of, again, like you were saying, it's like there's a lot of Guybrush just in your natural speaking voice.
Yeah, exactly.
By necessity, but it's like some of these Star Wars aliens. It's throw the gravel on it and
exactly. Just
fun. Choose some scenery,
that kind of just insane stuff. Yeah, it's fun.
Absolutely.
So, no, that was cool. So it was just a bunch of little roles, little stuff here and there, but it's fun because there definitely is a span in there where you play any of the Star Wars games, and I'm probably in there somewhere. That was kind of cool.
Well, maybe one of the more obscure ones is one of my favorite ones, DroidWorks, which is I love that game. I was way too old.
DroidWorks. Was that Protocol Droid in DroidWorks?
Yeah, I think you're the voice of a couple of just like the droid heads for like the ones that could actually speak. Okay. I think that there is one that's just like bleeps and bloops and some processing over the top of that. But but no, I love that game because it's everything about like kind of incredible machine in a Star Wars universe, build a special little droid and then send him out to go do a task or whatever.
I don't think I ever actually got to play that one.
Oh, really?
I don't even know how it turned out. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of an early 3D game. So, but it's all like software rendered, so it looks like it always performed bad and it always kind of looked a little jank. But it was still a lot of fun to play. And that's one of those games that absolutely underlines why you just need to pick like a regular voice for something that has a lot of dialogue. Yeah. Because the main character in it is like a Jawa. And the Jawa guy is just like, it's just somebody's voice, but they pitched it up. So it's not like, like, it's not like the crazy Jawa. It's just like, all right, everybody. I just a whole bunch of helium, but it had to be something that it's a kid's game. So it had to be something a little more, you can't have a bunch of subtitles. So,
yeah. Well, it's interesting too because so that was one of the Lucas Learning titles, I think, officially speaking. So that was interesting too because I remember at the time I kind of get the impression that the prevailing feeling around LucasArts at the time was they were maybe mildly bitter about the Lucas Learning stuff because like LucasArts always kind of had this reputation of being the redheaded stepchild of the Lucas Empire. Like everybody supposedly like George was so hands-on with everything, and they had all the other divisions at the ranch, the beautiful ranch and in the valley and all the buildings and underground facilities and studios and crazy stuff. And then LucasArts was like 20 minutes down the road in this nondescript cheap office building right on next to the highway. Like they said he had like no interest in LucasArts whatsoever until they started doing a couple of the Lucas Learning games, and he was super hands-on with that, I guess. Which to his credit is cool. He's super interested in the games. There were supposed to be kids' educational games, but yeah, all of a sudden it was like they're like, George cares about us now. What happened here? So,
yeah, what happened?
Yeah. So
well, I think he's got that big learning initiative thing that he did for conceivably he's still doing. So I mean, I see this as just another way to kind of reach kids or
I mean, I only ever heard little bits and pieces, and this is 30 years ago, so who knows? But it was a little funny that there was certainly and I remember there was some I guess there was some part of Yoda stories that I thought was brilliant, but I guess in the original Yoda stories there was going to be a section where they had Yoda come in and he would speak sentences, and then the kids had to rearrange the words to put them in the correct order for correct English. And I guess George nixed that one because he thought it was kind of making fun of Yoda. I was like, oh man, that was brilliant. It was brilliant. It would have been so perfect. Yeah. But it's a cool idea.
No, I like
another
that.
one I didn't get to play that one either. Yeah. But didn't play any of the Lucas Learning ones.
Well, they're all out there on archive.org, and I think a lot of them are even they're even set up where you can just emulate them directly through a web browser. So
it's probably easier than I think I had the boxes on my shelf, but I never actually played them. They're still
well, don't open them. Those are my retirement games. Yeah.
How much can I get for a sealed Yoda Stories? I don't know. Yoda Story. Never mind. I'm confusing my games. Yoda Stories was the procedural. The little procedural like, mini adventure game. Am I confusing my titles?
It's sort of like Indiana Jones Desktop Adventures.
Okay, never mind. I was thinking there's another one that was a Yoda-based educational game. I can't remember the title now. I'm getting my names mixed up. But yeah,
there's a lot of them. There's a lot of it. Like there's a point where they just were like, all this other stuff is fun, but let's just focus on like simulators where it's kind of like the TIE Fighter X-Wing, and then it was like
I loved those games.
Factor 5 got involved, and so on what at the time was next gen console kind of stuff, where you had a lot of really neat flight simulators and all. So
it's funny. So I was working on all those Star Wars games. But yeah, like you said, the timing worked out, so it was right around Episode 1. And in fact, it was kind of a bummer because the one time I did get to go visit the ranch, they invited me up. They're like, hey, you should come up and, we'll give you a tour and hang out at the office and see the ranch and all that. And the one time I went up there was when they were in their final post on Episode 1. So they're like, normally, here's where we would show you all around the cool studios and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Not right now. You're not getting in. No. Sorry. So my one trip to the ranch, all the cool stuff was shut down. Although, interestingly, so we go to the ranch and we're gonna have lunch they got the cafeteria in the main house there at the ranch in the valley, and I'm hanging out with Dara, and we walk in the front door of the ranch. We go up on the porch, and we walk in the front door of the main ranch house, and I look around and I'm like, I've been here. I'm like, this is like freaking me out. I'm like, that door over there. I'm like, is there a library behind that door? He's like, yeah. I'm like, 2 stories with a stained glass window. He's like, yeah. I'm like, Dara, I've never been here before. How do I know this? He said, it's the last level in Outlaws. Oh, that's it. But I had a moment. It's like, he's the last level of Outlaws is modeled after the main ranch house at the ranch. It's like, oh. But it totally freaked me out for a second. I was like, whoa, something really weird is happening here. So
that's kind of an interesting title too. That's like this versus like a Star Wars kind of, because I guess it uses the same engine as like Dark Forces and all
Dark Forces, yeah. I want to go back and play that one actually. It's been Outlaws. I haven't played Outlaws since 1990 whatever. If for no other reason than just to hear the score. I remember the score on that one was fantastic. That was, I think, was Bajakian the lead composer on that one, I want to say? I don't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But the score on that one was just tremendous. And I feel like I have a little more, not that I have a lot, I haven't watched a lot of Westerns, but I have a little more literacy with, the old Western films now, so I probably appreciate it more now than I did back then.
Some of the reference kind of stuff that they're doing with it. I mean, I actually
just replayed the feel and everything.
I replayed it last year, and and I remember it was like, because I remember playing it like when it was contemporaneous to when it came out, and I was kind of like, I don't know that I really care for this. I didn't
Most
really
people didn't.
Well, I played it again last year, and I was like, the cutscenes and stuff like that. This sells like a really good story. I mean, it's basically it's like kind of a revenge tale, but at the.
I mean, I haven't played it in so long, but I remember thinking at the time that I thought it deserved better than it got. I think so, in terms of reviews and popularity, it's like, and I don't want to say ahead of its time, right? But it was, they picked their genre and I thought they just nailed it. I just think it was that, nobody cared about that at the time. I think nobody cared about a Western style shooter at the time.
Yeah. And there wasn't anything else really out like it in that space. So, I mean, it's innovative, that's for sure. And I think that's what kind of drew me to it back in the day. But
how does it hold up gameplay wise?
It not very. It's well, because you have to kind of keep in mind that it's like it is largely based on the kind of the gameplay mechanics of Dark Forces,
right?
So it is like,
which I'm in the middle of replaying right now, actually.
Oh yeah. Oh okay. Well, it's kind of like you think Doom, where it's like a 2.5D kind of game where it's you can go up things, but you're changing the whole level. Yes, yeah. So I don't have an issue with games like that, and I absolutely appreciate. I got to be careful what I say because I don't want to offend anybody, but it's because you have to look at it through the kind of the lens of what was going on at the time, and it was that came out, and then I think like Duke Nukem.
I was not a big fan of Duke Nukem.
I know a lot of people were. I played it. It was okay, but and then Doom and all that type of stuff. And it was, but when the title started to come out, that it was just kind of like, because I think production on Outlaws took a while, and it was like, and there was a lot of things that butted right up against it. And I think that some of that stuff overshadowed it. But
they were also like LucasArts of the era. I think LucasArts of the era was always a little behind the technical curve. I mean, that was kind of their thing. Like they were all technical. I felt like technically speaking, they were always kind of making yesterday's game, but their production value and story and everything was so far beyond everybody else,
Yeah.
which is what I can't like. Okay, this doesn't need to be like, for me, it doesn't need to be an absolutely, technically cutting edge game. I don't care, because like, the voice is great and the characters are great and the story is great and the art direction is so cool. And that was the stuff I always cared about.
Yeah.
So, if the gameplay felt like it, was maybe a slightly dated at that point, like, a year or two old, that didn't bother me, at least at the time. I feel like that was kind of their MO for those kind of golden years of LucasArts. Like somebody else would do, would do some crazy technological moving the gameplay forward, and then they'd step in and just put this beautiful, story and artwork and music palette on top of that. So that always worked for me. I liked that formula personally.
Oh, I again, you hit the nail on the head, because it's LucasArts. Their whole thing is like IP first, because you got access to quite a bit of like very cool stuff, Indiana Jones and Star Wars and all that. But it's the storytelling part of it was always what drove it, because anybody could have made, oh come on, it's a Fate of Atlantis. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. Anybody could have made a Star or a Indiana Jones title.
Right.
But I don't know that anybody outside of LucasArts could have told that story.
Yeah. So, yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, I get it.
Which is what they've all gone on to do, I mean, and the folks who grew up on that stuff now, you talk to like the narrative, the folks who are making really cool narrative games now, and it's like, the percentage of them where it's like, yeah, that's what I grew up on, So there's nothing like it.
Nope, there isn't. But as you talked about, people kind of like moving on and doing other things. You've done a lot of other voice work and other video games and stuff. Maybe the biggest one that people at home are kind of familiar with is like the Metal Gear series. How did you get? Yeah,
there was just a random casting call. Casting call, did an audition, got the part. But that was it was funny too, because I again, very small. I mean, one of those things where you end up with like 3 or 4 technical roles. None of them more than a few lines or anything like that. But that was a fun session though. That was just a one-day thing, and we went in, and it was like maybe 6 or 7 guys, all in the studio together, and being army grunts and yelling and screaming and all that kind of stuff. And I love those. I love those sessions like that. I love the sessions like that, because it's like, okay, so now I need you to scream. You're being killed with a laser sword. Okay, laser sword. All right. Where's the laser sword slicing me? Oh, like through the midsection. Okay. Are we talking like crazy intense pain? Are we talking like instant cauterization? I barely feel it, and then realize my body's like in 2 halves. Like, oh, okay, you go through that whole thing, and then do it exactly. And it was a cool. Who was in that? Phil LaMarr was in that session. That I was a little intimidated by that. I was like, oh my god, that's Phil LaMarr. I was like, I know him. So that was kind of cool. I can say that I got to work with Phil LaMarr once, although it was, it was just kind of like a bunch of guys yelling and screaming as Marine grunts or whatever. But again, like I don't even remember, like, I think I'm listed as a helicopter pilot and whatever. I tried listening to the opening. I tried playing the opening 20 minutes, half an hour once, and I was thinking, well, I should be able to hear myself, right? And I like, I don't know where I am in here. I'm in here somewhere, but whatever.
I'm in the mix somewhere. I promise.
I'm in the mix somewhere. I'm pretty sure I have a line or two.
Yeah,
but
it's like,
but yeah,
I'm like Linda McCartney on a Wings album. I'm in there somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not sure, but I think Kojima was actually at the session too. Oh, just like hanging. I think so. Just hanging out in the back on a laptop, doing his thing while everybody was recording. He was doing the recording, if I recall correctly. I may have made that up in the intervening years, but
here's the thing: no one can say any different. So I would be like, afterwards, he took us out, bought us lunch.
Yeah, great. Totally. I was just hanging out. We're buds now.
Yeah,
I hang out with him all the time. We just, whenever I get to Tokyo, we chill.
I was like, this game, this horror game that you're going to put out on the PS3, this PT thing, don't do it. People are not going to like it. Just pull that. You're not going to get any flack for it.
Yeah. Me and him and Guillermo, we go out to dinner every now and again, just chilling. Just chilling.
Speaking of him, man, I hope he makes some more of that Netflix show, the Captain of Secret or Cabinet.
I haven't seen this one.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's really great. Like there's an episode that is it's directed by oh gosh, he's just a crazy dude. He did Mandy.
Okay.
It's Cosmodos, I think is his last name.
Okay.
But he did one. It's got like Peter Weller in it and stuff, and
oh wow,
and Eric Andre. It's got a lot of famous people in it, but it is just like a fever dream.
Okay.
So the whole series is really great though. So
I'll have to check it because I like his more, I guess, occult stuff.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of that in it.
Yeah, like the old El Espinazo del Diablo I really loved, and of course Pan's Labyrinth and all that. Wasn't there a third one in that trilogy that I'm forgetting now? Not an actual trilogy, but sort of a loose collection of his earlier films that were the sort of the supernatural ghosty ones.
Right.
I always liked those.
I do like Shape of Water.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
That's really great. I do think that the ending is kind of problematic because it does leave two people that was not a it's they make it.
It's been too long since I watched it. No, I did watch it. It's been a while.
I'm going to spoil the ending of Shape of Water, but it's like they shoot the FBI agent, or the FBI agent is killed, and then the mute lady and the star of the movie both escape, but they leave the gay guy and the black lady on the dock. Okay. In the 1950s. I was like, this story probably does not end well for both of these folks.
Doesn't end so well for them.
But I'm glad the mute lady got to go and live in the ocean with the gill man. It's a real feel good. Just don't think about it too hard.
Just don't think about the aftermath too hard. Yeah, exactly.
I do like that. No, he's a great director. But
I agree. I like him a lot.
But no, it's really cool. You got to make those things, and again, that's a lot of what happens. Where it's just sort of like, can you come and make some grunts, and it'll be in the mix on the final thing. It goes on your IMDb, and it's more stuff for the next job.
Yeah, no, exactly, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun to be a part of that, and also during that era, it was funny because I remember I got that was right before the release of episode 1. I picked up, they did a special edition Trivial Pursuit that was all Star Wars trivia. Mm-hmm. And I got this, and of course, it's all Star Wars mania leading up to episode 1. So some friends came over, we all sit down to play this. And after like half an hour, they're like, "Are you just like the world's biggest Star Wars geek? You know everything." I was like, "Well, it's not. I work on the games, and I know the technical stuff because I play X-Wing, and I know all the Cantina aliens and stuff because I do the voices for them." So I was like, I'm going through category. Well, no, it's not. I just, because I worked on this, so I know all these details. They're like, yeah, sure, that's what it is. Just admit it. You spend all your time reading all the novelizations. It's like, oh man.
Yeah. I don't know. I used to be one of those kids that would really
I'm not knocking
kind of like really read over the mythos of all of this stuff, because it's an opportunity for people to just be super creative and just come up with there's some dude in the background on this one shot, but he's got like his own little. There was a company in the late 80s, early 90s that did like backstory, like little novelization where it was just sort of like the aliens of Jabba's palace, everybody had like a little story and a background, and it was like, I love that.
And of course we poke fun at some of the stranger ones, but that's how you end up with Andor, right? Is when people take the universe beyond, beyond the whatever narrow confines it starts in, So
I just it again. It's one of those great things where it was just like we're like loosening things up and just like let's see like what's possible to make like a kind of like a more mature Star Wars show.
Yeah,
that can win some awards potentially.
Yeah. No, it's great. The only thing that gets tricky is when people start freaking out about canon. the more you spread out. Yeah. I remember they had at the time, this would have been like probably late 90s. There was an unofficial head of canon within the Lucas Empire, and he was what was his name was Hayden, I think. He did some voice directing. I can't remember his last name now, but he came in, I want to say like in the late 90s, and he was the guy who had like, read and absorbed every single ancillary piece of Star Wars material ever produced.
Yeah.
And he within the Lucas Empire, like he was sort of the unofficial final arbiter of all things canon. They'll be like, "Can we do this? Is this correct?" He'd say, "Well, in this novel, da 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 da." So it was kind of funny.
Don't make me mad. I will wipe Admiral Thrawn from existence
totally, right?
so fast.
Exactly.
But
yeah,
no,
cool.
it's amazing. I cannot imagine the hardest working person at Lucas Art or Lucasfilm just trying to keep up with like the extended universe, and it's like, all right, so which one of Dash Rendar's kids is this? Is that an official job now? Do they have someone? And like I said, it was just, I mean, he had his own job that he was doing, and he just sort of became known as the guy who knows, so everyone would call him. But like, sort of
at some point, did they formalize that, and you are now like the bishop of Star Wars canon or something like that? You know what I mean?
I call George.
I mean, how cool of a job would that be? Your job is to know everything that happens in this universe. That's it.
Yeah.
Every detail. You are like the head of trivia.
Yeah. It's
every stupid little detail. You got to know it all.
Did you know that Sebulba had like intestinal issues? It doesn't come up a lot in the movies, but it's part of canon because I say so.
Totally is. Yeah.
He's got
medication is very hard to obtain.
It's called Doug Tummy. It's because that's the race of aliens that Sebulba is.
Is that what he is?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
I'm getting soft, right, man. I'm getting soft.
No, it's okay.
I knew all this stuff once.
This is the stuff that replaced being able to add fractions in my brain.
Well, fractions, whatever.
I know. It's like, what? Who cares about that when you can?
Star Wars canon is
you can know the population of Theed.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely. So anyway, back on track here. You did a lot of amazing stuff. You took some time off from voice acting, and you got, just when you thought you were out, they pulled you back in.
That's always how it works, man.
With your original love.
Yeah.
So do you want to maybe talk a little bit about coming back for Return to Monkey Island?
That one was the biggest surprise. By far. I mean, it was always like, I always kind of, so after we, the first one I did was Curse, and Escape came right on its heels. And Escape seemed to do okay too. And because I did those two and I was still pretty young and they were pretty much back to back, I couldn't wait for the next one. I was like, they got to do another one, right? They got to do another
trilogy. Come on.
And it was a long wait. And it was really, for me, it was a heartbreaker. So then, many years later when they came back and we did the special editions, that was like, oh, this is so cool. I finally get to finish this off. But because of that, I had kind of learned my lesson, so when we finished the special editions, I was like, I can't do this thing where I'm sitting by the phone trying to read the tea leaves, waiting for the call to get to do Guybrush again. It's like, I gotta, for my own sanity, I have to assume that it is. We did the special editions and we did Tales at the same time, basically. Interestingly, those were secretly developed in parallel. And when Telltale approached LucasArts about the license, they were like, we're working on bringing back the special editions, and so they neither had any idea the other was working on something. So that was a little bit of serendipity. But anyway, so we do the special edition, we do Tales, and that was all amazing. And I learned my lesson at that point, and that lesson was, assume once that game ships and the hubbub dies down, assume that the series is dead and gone forever, and we will never, ever, ever get another Monkey Island game again, or I will drive myself crazy. So that was the lesson I learned. And I think I internalized that maybe a little too much accidentally, because I was on vacation in Seattle with my family. Which is where Ron Gilbert lived at the time. And while we're on our week-long vacation in Seattle, I get an email from Ron Gilbert. He's like, "Hey, Dom, was just thinking about you. Hope all's going well. Yeah, would love to chat with you. I haven't heard from you in a long time, blah, blah, whatever." And I'm thinking to myself, Ron Gilbert didn't just randomly think of me and wants to know what's going on. Something's up here.
Right.
And anyone with half a brain at this point would wonder, is there some Monkey Island thing happening? But I swear the thought never crossed my mind. When Disney bought the Lucas Empire, that was the moment where I assumed Monkey Island is dead forever. It is never, ever, ever coming back. Because my thought was they got Pirates of the Caribbean. Why on earth would they ever resurrect Monkey Island? When they've got Pirates of the Caribbean, which is basically Monkey Island. So, because I thought first, they bring it back, but they'd be like, hey, this is just a rip off of Pirates of the Caribbean. I was like, So I figured that's it. It's dead and gone. I always told people, I imagine the day they made that announcement that Disney was buying LucasArts and all the IP and everything, all the Lucas Empire, I imagine like all the Guybrush stuff, all the Monkey Island stuff, like being, in the crate, hammered into the crate and then carted into the giant warehouse, end of Indiana Jones. I'm like,
right.
That's it. It's going into the warehouse. We're never, ever going to see it ever again.
Who's playing the Monkey Island games? Top men.
Yeah, top men. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, that's it. It's gone. It's lost forever. We're never going to see it again. So anyway, I get this email from Ron Gilbert. And I was like, funny you should ask, Ron. I said, I happen to be in Seattle right now with my family. We just got here. We're here for a week. I was like, you want to get coffee next week? He's like, yeah, that'd be great. He's like, here's where I live, and let's meet at this coffee shop. So he set a date and a time, whatever. And I went, one morning, like our second to last day in Seattle, whatever. And I drove up to that neighborhood and, met him at a coffee shop, and we're just chilling. Yeah, get some coffee. Oh, it's great, to see you. I mean, he's not like someone I kept in touch with. I had met him at PAX when we were doing all the stuff for Tales with Telltale. They invited me out to PAX to do the show and, promotional stuff and interviews and stuff for Tales. And I met Ron then, and, he's a really nice guy. And I was glad that he didn't hate me, because it's like, it's his character, and I kind of jumped in after the fact to do the voice, and I was so afraid, like, oh God, what if he hates how I did this, but he was super gracious and a super nice guy. But that was it, and like maybe we interacted once or twice on social media after that, but it wasn't like he was somebody I kept in touch with. So we're having coffee, and he says, I got this new project I'm working on. I was like, oh, and I'm thinking to myself, well, this would be so cool if Ron's got some new game he's working on, and maybe he was just thinking maybe there's some role in this game that he was thinking I would be perfect for. I'm like, that would be so flippin' cool, right? That'd be great. Some new Ron, because I had played I'm blanking on the name now. The X-Files Twin Peaksy adventure he had just done. I can't believe I'm blanking on the name, but you know the one I'm talking about. The
Thimbleweed.
Thimbleweed. Thank you. Yes, Thimbleweed Park. So I thought he was doing another one of his original adventure games. This is so cool. I get to finally work on a Ron Gilbert game with Ron Gilbert. And he says, so finally, after about 20 minutes, we're just chatting. He says, so you want to hear what my new project is? I'm like, I would love to hear what the new project is. I'm making a new Monkey Island game. And I know, like, this is one of those things where, like, it's kind of all a blur in my head, but I do know I did jump up on my feet. I did literally jump up out of my chair onto my feet. I swore a lot, like good excited swearing. I don't recall precisely the nature of what I said, somewhere that are you, yeah. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, I'm serious. And we went through, he started telling me about it, and I asked him, he's like, yeah, we've been developing in secret. He's like, nobody knows. He's like, you sure don't know? I'm like, no, don't worry. And he's like, so, and he's like, you want to come back and do Guybrush? I'm like, yeah, I want to come back and do Guybrush again. He's like, oh, thank God. He said, I was so worried that, like, because what if you don't? I'm like, Ron, I'm the last person you have to worry about. It's like, of course I'm going to be there. It's like, he's like, I know, but if you didn't, that would be the biggest problem. I'm like, no, of course. So, he kind of told me gave me the whole background and the whole story. And it was just so flippin' cool. Cause like, after all these years, it's like, I finally get to work on a Monkey Island game with Ron. I mean, it's, and I think it's one of those things that, again, people don't think about, is because, he's so synonymous with the game, obviously, because it was his creation. Yeah. And I am for the voice and the character. And yet until Return, we had never worked together on anything. So, and I don't know if people, I mean, it's one of those things, if you look at it, of course it's obvious, but I think people don't realize that. So it was just freaking cool to finally get to. And they were so cool about involving me, he and Dave, and that they gave me access to, their builds that they were working on. They were updating periodically. He's like, yeah, and he said too. I said, how far along is it? He said, it's playable, start to finish. You can go right through. So there's a lot of placeholder stuff. He's like, but you can play it start to finish. And he gave me access, and I got to watch, and as they were making all kinds of changes and this and that to the graphics, and I mean, in story, major changes to the story and everything, and it was just super super cool. And it was so nice to be able to have that window into it as well. I mean, from a performance standpoint, it's like, oh my god, this is incredible. This is so wonderful. By the time I stepped into the booth, it was like I know exactly what all this is and exactly what's going on, and it makes it so easy, which I know is not practical under most situations. But in my case, it wasn't a big deal for them to let me putz around with it, and I did, and it was freaking cool, man. It was so cool.
It's a lot of fun. It is. Yeah.
And also it was like. I mean, just the whole story and the themes of that, because I mean, they're, of course, for all the obvious reasons, and they said so in their little letter at the end of the game too. I mean, it's very autobiographical for the two of them in a lot of ways, but pretty much everything, all those themes of, kind of the guys who were back in the day and now getting older and family and coming back, and, are they still, they're kind of the old timers now and maybe don't have the pull that they used to. There's sort of pretty much all the themes that were applicable to them were also similarly applicable to me. So it's like, dude, it's like right in the feels. It's like, oh man. So I mean, not it just happenstance. It just happened to all, I could just as easily have signed that letter along with them. It was very much a similar scenario, because at that point I'd been out of voiceover for quite a while, and I missed it and all that kind of stuff. And it was known, of course, people always appreciate and love the stuff you do, but it's for something you did so long ago, So it was a little poignant. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, it's a very heartfelt story. It's and it has a great way of dealing with people's big objection to the ending on part 2, and just kind of twists it around.
That how they did that in the opening is
where it's absolutely the
totally
kind
brilliant.
of the fantasy of all of that. And as a parent, I loved the kind of where it's almost like a passing of the torch a little bit too, where it's like, it's just a very it's very heartfelt, and I like the ending where it would have been very easy to just been sort of like you wrapped it up and it was like, I don't want to ruin it for anybody that hasn't.
Right.
I will absolutely ruin the end of Shape of Water, but I will not ruin the end of Return to Monkey Island. But it's just the way that it was ended, where it was sort of like that. It's sort of like that. There's nothing that's ever going to live to your expectations. So it's just sort of like, it's what you bring to it. Yeah. And I think that is a large part of the feel of all of those games, where it's the fantasy and it's sort of like the adventure of it, and everybody gets something a little different out of it. And even like the final dialogue choices even reflect that, where it's just sort of like, as you're explaining, where it's just, that it's, and you could take it from a couple, like there's one that's kind of a snarky kind of answer. And I'm sure that people were like, that were just like, might have picked that. But I was like, but I replayed because I wanted to like see all of the possible sort of like permutations of all of that. I'm one of those people. Like I absolutely have 100%ed the game on Steam and have gone back and done like all of the achievements, and have played through several other times, and even worked out a strategy because there's the little trivia cards in it. And I've literally gone through and it's like 170 trivia cards or something. I've collected all the trivia cards and answered all the trivia cards. Yes, it's a sickness. I'm seeking.
Yeah, I heard.
But I absolutely get it. I was the target audience for this, and it meant a lot. The way that it all came together, and your involvement like means a lot too, because it's absolutely like they were saying to you, that it's like not having you would have been problematic on a production like this.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like I I mean, with that ending, there was no way they were going to make everybody happy, you know. And it was interesting too, because it could have ended a bunch of different ways too, and I saw some others, and that's not my story to tell, you know, but I saw some other possibilities, and they're all interesting in their own ways, you know. But I think the way I love the thing that I love about the way that it wrapped up is that, and it ties into, you know, some of the stuff that I loved and that I grew up with. I've kind of joked with some people that I think people who grew up on Terry Gilliam films probably have a much greater level of comfort with the ending of Return to Monkey Island than those who didn't. I mean, there are plenty of exceptions, but I just feel like, you know, that notion that what's real and what isn't is kind of immaterial. Did this happen? Did it? Did none of this happen? Who cares? It's a story.
Yeah.
You know, you know,
to make it clear, we didn't get Braziled on this. That's for sure.
Yeah. But even so, but along those same lines, again, you know, that notion that, you know, I've always, the thing that I like to say is that, you know, when you're talking about a story, whether or not, I hate the whole based on a true story thing, and I love the whole Fargo thing with, you know, based on a true story, and it's totally made up, you know, just that whole notion that it doesn't, you know, whether or not it happened isn't nearly as important as whether or not it's plausible and rings true, right? If it's plausible and it rings true, that's all that matters. And like I found, you know, some people, you know, questioning with Return to Monkey Island, you know, like, oh, they were like upset that, like, oh, well, so this thing never really happened. It's like, okay, let me get this straight. So if I write a completely fictional story, you're good with that. But if some part of that completely fictional story talks about some other part of the story being fictional within the story, that's like a travesty and a horrible thing. It's like, it's all made up, all of it, the whole thing, you know. It's like, it's just a bizarre, it's sort of a bizarre need I think a lot of people have, that, like, you know, well, did this happen or not? Who cares? Yeah, doesn't matter. You know?
I think it's
what does it say to you in the moment? You know?
Yes. How does it make you feel? Like, what's the emotion? Because it's storytelling at the very core of this entire thing. It's two cavemen sitting around a fire, telling each other stories.
And if we ever get to a point where, like, and I think, like, when you talk about, you get to a point where, like, truth is what matters for storytelling. So you just, like, talk about missing the whole point. It's like, you know, when has truth ever been important for storytelling in the history of humankind? You know what I mean? It's like the whole thing about stories is that they're exaggerated and mythologized, and you know what I mean? It's like truth means nothing. It's not about, again, it's not about whether or not something happened. It's about whether or not it gets at some core inner truth, you know, not some specific events. So
I think people feel like they have a lot of ownership on it, though.
And I get that, and I appreciate that. And then you get into the whole subject of, too, you know, the art and the artist, and you got to let the artist do their thing too. You know, that's a whole other tangent as well. I'm very big on that one as well. You know, I understand that the whole fan ownership of art in general is one that gets my hackles up. I start screaming and freaking out. It's like, I get it. I get that you care, and I get that sometimes people who do these things make choices that are upsetting to you, but dude, you got to let them do that. You got to let them do that. Otherwise, it's just all corporate crap, you know? I mean, it's, you know, we talk about, it's like, you know, I feel like there are a lot of fandom these days. You know, it's like they'll decry it when the corporate boardroom steps in to dictate how the story goes, but then they want to step in and dictate how the story goes. It's like, it's like you gotta give your artists the freedom. You have to let them feel like they can create and do and be as honest about what they're trying to express as they can be. The moment you make your artists feel like their primary job is to please you, I mean, that's the death of art. It's like, then it's not art, that's a product. Then it's a product, you know? And I mean, and of course, you know, we're not fooling ourselves. All art is, to some degree, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, you gotta sell games, or you're not going to be able to make the next one. But you gotta give people the freedom to do what they want to do, and to take risks, and to do things that maybe aren't going to work, and maybe you're not going to appreciate. And if we don't do that, then we just end up with the same stuff over and over and over again. So
I hear you. It's kind
I
of
get very haughty about that.
No, I get it. There's kind of a thing that's attributed to Joel Hodgson where it's like the right people will get it. And so I feel like when you, as a creative, you make a thing, and the right people will understand what you're trying to get across. So, and to your point earlier about the like letting facts get in the way of the story, it's like when the legend becomes facts.
Yeah.
Print the legend.
Yeah. Exactly. It's not news. It's a game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just supposed to be fun.
Story. Yeah, exactly.
I hope you.
So no,
I hope you
I
had
thought.
fun.
I'm obviously way too close to it to be able to look at it in any sort of objective way. But I thought that what Ron and Dave did with Return was just brilliant. And I always try to be super careful about saying Ron and Dave too, because I know Ron kind of gets top billing and he's the legend, but that is just as much Dave's as it is Ron's. And those two together, really I think that's a really special game. And I've been waiting. I mean, I played it, once the final build was done, I played it right away at release. And then I decided I want to put this away for a few years before I come back to it. So I'm at the point now where I think it's now, maybe I'm approaching time where it's time to come back to it. But I want to go at it fresh again. So, but there's a lot, those waters run deep. There's a lot going on there.
Absolutely. Well, I love the series. And I really want to. I know we're kind of closing in on that hour and a half mark. So I want to thank you so much for taking time to kind of share your story, the behind the scenes on some of those things. I know we kind of talked about voice acting and stuff like that at the top of the show, but I know again the right people will get it. People love hearing about the industry and things like that, especially kind of people that have never had to cordon off part of their soul to participate.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. So now I'm definitely in that place again where it's like now I have to just assume it's done. It's done. So
I hope that we get more, and it's left open for more. So we'll have to see. My fingers are crossed. My checkbook is out. So if the right people are listening, I hope that you. I
still want the animated movie. That's what I want.
Yeah, actually. So you know what? 6 seasons and the animated movie. I just go 107 episodes, dump right into syndication, and then I get my house in Malibu.
That's why I can't watch the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. It breaks my heart. Oh, yeah. I just can't. I watched the first one and that was it. I can't. I walked out of that. I mean, I was sick walking out of it. Not because there was anything wrong with it. It was a fun movie. It was great. I'm not taking anything away from it. Mm-hmm. But like for me, it was just like, oh god, this should have been a Monkey Island animated film. It just hurts me personally. On a deep personal level, I can't do it. I can't watch those movies.
Yeah. I've seen the first one, and I feel like I've done my time. I like it. I think it's great. Everything about it's great. And I know they did like 8 more. They did a lot.
They did a couple.
And I'm sure they're great too.
Yeah, they did a couple.
I absolutely, anytime I get to, and I will say I do like the Disneyland version of the ride better. Anytime I get to Anaheim, I absolutely rope drop, go straight to Pirates of the Caribbean and ride it, because there's always some new little tweak or some new little thing that they've done. So
that's what I always used to do before. Whenever they were starting up a new Monkey Island project, I'd go ride Pirates of the Caribbean a few times.
Yeah,
just to get in the swing a little bit. We'll see. The thing I keep holding, I always think to myself, if there's going to be some more Monkey Island thing in the future, I said the thing that's going to do it is going to be somebody who is in some level of relative power at Disney who just grew up on it and loves it and like desperately wants to make it happen. Mm-hmm. So that's always what I keep holding out for. Maybe there's somebody in the system there who manages to finally.
Yeah, there'll be the right executive that has great memories of this and wants to
put it in front of the right person, and
they want to make it a streaming series on Disney Plus.
We'll see.
That's the energy I'm putting into the universe.
And then they'll cast Chris Pratt for the role.
No, don't do it. He's in everything else. Other people got to work. Dominic, thanks so much for your time today. I really
Thank
do
you.
appreciate
No, I
it.
appreciate it. It's fun.